In today's episode, we're exploring the last moments of people eaten alive by crocodiles. From a fisherman who waded into dark waters to retrieve his tackle box, to a photographer who cornered a massive crocodile while seeking the perfect shot. Let's begin with the first story, where one man's careless night fishing routine became his final cast. It was August 15, 2016, and the vast expanse of Lake Okeechobee stretched endlessly across the Florida landscape under a brilliant full moon. The massive freshwater lake, covering over 730 square miles, was dotted with fishing boats and lined with cypress trees whose Spanish moss swayed gently in the humid night breeze. The water's surface reflected the moonlight like scattered diamonds, while the sounds of night herons and bullfrogs created a symphony of wilderness activity. Robert Hayes, a 42-year-old construction worker from Fort Lauderdale, had driven 3 hours to reach his favorite fishing spot along the lake's remote northern shore. Robert had been making these weekend pilgrimages for over 15 years, seeking solitude and trophy bass to escape the stress of his demanding job managing construction crews in the bustling city. His weathered pickup truck was loaded with professional fishing equipment, worth thousands of dollars, testament to his serious dedication to the sport. Robert had grown up fishing the canals and lakes of South Florida with his father and grandfather, learning to read water conditions and fish behavior before he could properly tie his shoes. His success as an angler had made him somewhat legendary among his co-workers, who regularly requested fishing advice and begged for invitations to join his weekend expeditions. That evening, Robert had set up his elaborate fishing station on a small peninsula that jutted into the lake, providing access to deep water where large bass congregated during the cooler nighttime hours. His portable chairs, tackle boxes, and rod holders were arranged with military precision, while multiple lines extended into the dark water at carefully calculated angles. American alligators are apex predators that have dominated Florida's freshwater environments for millions of years, with adult males reaching lengths of 14 feet and weights exceeding 1,000 pounds. These ancient reptiles are most active during dawn and dusk hours, when they hunt for fish, birds, and small mammals alongside shorelines and in shallow water. Alligators are ambush predators that can remain motionless for hours before exploding into action with devastating speed. During nighttime hours, alligators become particularly bold and territorial, often approaching areas with human activity. Robert had been fishing for nearly 4 hours when disaster struck around midnight. He had been fighting a large bass when his excitement caused him to knock over his primary tackle box, sending it tumbling into the knee-deep water near the shoreline. Without hesitation, Robert waded into the dark water to retrieve his tackle box, relying on moonlight to navigate the murky shallows. The massive alligator had been hunting in the shallows for over an hour, drawn to the area by the scent of bait and the vibrations from Robert's fishing activities. The 12-foot male had been lying motionless among the cypress roots, perfectly camouflaged in the dark water while waiting for an opportunity to strike. The attack came without warning or sound. The alligator exploded from its hiding place with devastating speed, its massive jaws clamping down on Robert's right leg just below the knee. The crushing bite force instantly shattered bones and severed major arteries, while the alligator's razor-sharp teeth punctured deep into muscle and tissue. Robert's scream of shock and pain echoed across the empty lake as the massive reptile began its signature death roll. The alligator's powerful body twisted rapidly in the water, using its tremendous strength and weight to disorient its prey while causing maximum tissue damage. Robert was pulled completely underwater as the 800-pound predator spun with mechanical precision. After several intense rotations, the alligator dragged Robert into deeper water to complete the drowning process. Robert's struggles grew weaker as the combination of massive blood loss, crushing injuries, and oxygen deprivation overwhelmed his system. Within minutes, Robert's movement ceased as the massive alligator's brutal assault proved fatal. Other anglers discovered Robert's abandoned truck the following morning when he failed to return home as scheduled. Search and rescue teams found his body 2 days later in deeper water, and wildlife officials successfully tracked and removed the massive alligator due to its proximity to popular fishing areas. Robert's death prompted enhanced warning systems at public fishing areas and renewed educational campaigns about nighttime fishing safety. Robert's family established a foundation promoting angler safety education, but his tragic encounter was just one of many deadly meetings between humans and America's apex reptiles. Deep in Louisiana's ancient swamps, a tourist's casual approach to wildlife photography would prove equally fatal when she underestimated the lightning-fast reflexes of a swamp predator. It was March 22, 2015, and the ancient cypress swamps of Louisiana's Atchafalaya Basin stretched endlessly across the landscape under overcast spring skies. The massive wetland ecosystem, covering over 1 million acres, was alive with the sounds of birds, frogs, and insects, while Spanish moss draped from towering trees, creating a cathedral-like atmosphere. Tourist boats navigated the narrow waterways between massive cypress trunks, their guides pointing out wildlife and sharing stories of Cajun culture. Jennifer Walsh, a 29-year-old elementary school teacher from Chicago, was experiencing her first Louisiana swamp tour with her boyfriend Mark as part of their southern road trip vacation. Jennifer maintained a modest travel blog with 2,100 Instagram followers who enjoyed her authentic approach to documenting new experiences and cultural discoveries. Her Midwestern background had given her no exposure to alligator habitat, and she approached the swamp tour with the same casual attitude she brought to visiting museums or historical sites. Jennifer had been planning this Louisiana adventure for months, researching Cajun culture, local cuisine, and tourist attractions throughout the region. Her blog focused on authentic travel experiences rather than typical tourist destinations, and she was excited to share the unique ecosystem of the Atchafalaya Basin with her followers. Jennifer had purchased professional camera equipment specifically for this trip, and was determined to capture images that would set her content apart from typical tourist photography. That afternoon, Jennifer and Mark had joined a small group tour led by Captain Boudreau, a third-generation Cajun guide who had been navigating these waters for over 20 years. The experienced guide had repeatedly emphasized safety protocols during his pre-tour briefing, warning passengers to remain seated and keep hands inside the boat at all times. Jennifer had listened politely, but treated the warnings as standard liability precautions rather than serious safety concerns. The tour had been progressing smoothly for nearly an hour when Captain Boudreau spotted a large alligator floating approximately 20 feet from their boat. The massive reptile appeared completely motionless, its eyes and nostrils barely visible above the dark water's surface. Jennifer immediately began photographing the magnificent predator, excited to capture close-up images of her first wild alligator encounter. Jennifer became increasingly frustrated with the distance between the boat and the alligator, believing she needed closer shots to create compelling content for her blog. Despite Captain Boudreau's repeated warnings to stay seated, Jennifer began leaning farther over the boat's side to get better angles for her photographs. Her excitement and focus on photography made her oblivious to the guide's growing concern about her behavior. The fatal moment came when Jennifer's phone slipped from her hands and fell toward the dark water. Without thinking, she lunged forward and extended her arm over the boat's edge in a desperate attempt to catch her expensive device before it disappeared into the swamp. Her sudden movement and extended arm created the perfect opportunity for the alligator's lightning-fast attack. The massive alligator exploded from the water with devastating speed, its powerful jaws clamping down on Jennifer's extended arm just above the wrist. The crushing bite force instantly shattered bones and severed major arteries, while the alligator's momentum pulled Jennifer partially over the boat's side. Her screams of shock and pain filled the swamp as the 10-foot predator began dragging her toward the water. Mark and Captain Boudreaux immediately grabbed Jennifer's legs and torso, desperately trying to pull her back into the boat while the alligator maintained its crushing grip on her arm. The tug-of-war lasted only seconds. The alligator's superior strength and leverage in its aquatic environment made the outcome inevitable. Jennifer's arm was nearly severed at the wrist as the reptile's teeth worked through bone and tissue. The alligator's powerful tail thrashed violently as it pulled Jennifer completely into the murky water, her blood creating a crimson cloud around the attack site. Captain Boudreaux grabbed his emergency pole and struck at the alligator, but the massive reptile had already dragged Jennifer beneath the surface and disappeared into the maze of cypress roots and submerged logs. Jennifer's struggle ceased within minutes as the alligator's death roll and drowning tactics proved fatal. The dark swamp water concealed the final moments of the attack, leaving Mark and the other passengers in stunned silence as Captain Boudreaux radioed for emergency assistance. Search teams recovered Jennifer's body later that day, and the tour company implemented stricter safety protocols, including physical barriers and enhanced passenger restraint systems. Jennifer's death prompted industry-wide reviews of swamp tour safety procedures and enhanced training for guides working with inexperienced tourists. Her family filed lawsuits against the tour company, arguing that inadequate safety measures had contributed to the tragedy. The incident became a cautionary tale about the dangers of treating wild predators as photo opportunities. Still, Louisiana swamps weren't the only places where people underestimated the speed and power of these ancient predators. In Florida, a golfer's routine ball retrieval would become a deadly encounter when he waded into waters that had been claimed by a territorial reptile. It was June 8, 2017, and the manicured fairways of Naples Grand Golf Club stretched across the southwest Florida landscape under brilliant summer sunshine. The championship course featured numerous water hazards designed to challenge golfers while showcasing the region's natural beauty, with pristine ponds and streams winding between palm trees and tropical vegetation. The morning air was thick with humidity, while the sounds of golf carts and distant conversations created a peaceful atmosphere of recreational luxury. Thomas Chen, a 35-year-old real estate agent from Atlanta, was playing his third round of golf during a week-long Florida vacation with clients and colleagues. Thomas had built a successful career selling luxury properties throughout Georgia, and these Florida golf trips have become essential for maintaining relationships with wealthy clients who own vacation homes in the region. His competitive nature and perfectionist tendencies made him an excellent salesman, but also a golfer who hated losing expensive equipment. Thomas had been playing golf seriously for over 10 years, maintaining a single-digit handicap through regular practice and professional instruction. His golf bag contained thousands of dollars worth of premium equipment, including custom-fitted clubs and high-end golf balls that cost over $5 each. Thomas took pride in his equipment and had developed a habit of retrieving balls from water hazards rather than accepting the penalty strokes and replacement costs. That morning, Thomas was playing alone as part of an early tee time, enjoying the peaceful course conditions before the Florida heat became unbearable. He had been playing exceptionally well through the first 13 holes, shooting several strokes under par and feeling confident about posting his best scores of the vacation. The 14th hole featured a challenging approach shot over a large pond that had claimed countless golf balls over the years. Thomas's approach shot had started perfectly but caught a gust of wind and splashed into the pond, just short of the green. The expensive ball was clearly visible in the shallow water near the pond's edge, appearing easily retrievable to Thomas. He had successfully retrieved balls from similar situations dozens of times at various Florida courses and considered himself knowledgeable about alligator behavior and safety. What Thomas failed to notice were the fresh warning signs that course maintenance had posted that very morning after spotting a large alligator in the pond during their routine inspection. The bright yellow signs were positioned near the tee box and cart path, but Thomas had been focused on his shot selection and missed the crucial safety information. The 10-foot alligator had claimed the pond as its territory and had been resting motionless near the spot where Thomas's ball had landed. Thomas parked his golf cart near the pond's edge and waded confidently into the knee-deep water, his golf shoes providing good traction on the sandy bottom. He had performed this routine countless times. The morning sun created glare on the water's surface, making it difficult to see beneath the murky water. The alligator's attack was swift and devastating. The massive reptile had been lying motionless in the shallow water, perfectly camouflaged among the pond's natural vegetation and debris. Thomas's entry into the water triggered the alligator's territorial instincts, and the predator exploded into action with lightning speed. The alligator's massive jaws clamped down on Thomas's right leg just below the knee, its crushing bite force instantly shattering bones and severing major arteries. Thomas's scream of shock and pain echoed across the golf course as the 600-pound reptile began its signature death roll, spinning rapidly in the shallow water while maintaining its devastating grip. The death roll dragged Thomas completely underwater as the alligator used its tremendous strength to disorient and drown its prey. Thomas's golf clothes were shredded by the reptile's razor-sharp teeth, while the violent spinning motion caused massive internal trauma and blood loss. The clear pond water turned crimson as the attack continued with mechanical brutality. After several intense rotations, the alligator held Thomas submerged while completing the drowning process. Thomas's struggles grew weaker as the combination of crushing injuries, blood loss, and oxygen deprivation overwhelmed his system. Within minutes, his movement ceased as the alligator's brutal assault proved fatal. Course security discovered the scene an hour later during their routine patrol, finding Thomas's golf cart abandoned near the pond and evidence of the violent attack in the bloodied water. The golf course was immediately closed while wildlife officials captured and relocated the massive alligator. Enhanced warning systems and physical barriers were installed around all water hazards following the incident. Thomas's death sent shockwaves through the golf community and prompted industry-wide reviews of safety protocols at courses in alligator habitat. His family filed lawsuits against the golf course, arguing that inadequate warning systems had contributed to the tragedy. The incident became a cautionary tale about the hidden dangers lurking in Florida's seemingly peaceful recreational environments. However, even experienced outdoor enthusiasts weren't immune to fatal encounters with these apex predators. It was September 12, 2014, and the pristine waters of the Mayaca River wound through southwest Florida's wilderness like a ribbon of liquid glass under the late summer sun. The ancient waterway, flanked by towering cypress trees and dense palmetto undergrowth, provided a corridor through some of Florida's most untouched natural habitat. Spanish moss draped from massive oak trees, creating a canopy that filtered the afternoon light into dancing patterns on the water's surface, while the calls of herons and ibises echoed through the humid air. Amanda Foster, a 31-year-old registered nurse from Tampa, was enjoying her monthly kayaking adventure with her husband Steve, a tradition they had maintained for over 3 years. Amanda worked long shifts at Tampa General Hospital's emergency department, and these weekend river trips provided essential stress relief from her demanding career, saving lives in one of the city's busiest trauma centers. Her Instagram account with 1,800 followers documented their outdoor adventures throughout Florida's state parks and waterways. Amanda had discovered kayaking during her nursing school years as a way to maintain physical fitness and mental health during the intense academic program. Her natural athleticism and competitive spirit had made her an accomplished paddler, capable of navigating challenging water conditions that intimidated less experienced kayakers. She and Steve had explored dozens of Florida rivers and springs, building expertise in reading water conditions and wildlife behavior. That afternoon, the couple had launched their kayaks from the Mayaka River State Park boat ramp, planning to paddle upstream through a section of river known for its pristine wilderness and abundant wildlife. American alligators become extremely territorial and aggressive during breeding season, which occurs from April through June in Florida. Female alligators construct large nests from vegetation and mud along riverbanks, where they lay 20 to 50 eggs that incubate for approximately 65 days. Mother alligators guard their nest with fierce dedication, attacking any perceived threat that approaches within 50 yards of their nesting site. These protective instincts make female alligators exponentially more dangerous than usual. Amanda and Steve had been paddling for nearly 2 hours when they encountered a section of river narrowed by fallen cypress trees and dense vegetation. The natural obstacle course required careful navigation, and Amanda's kayak became wedged against a partially submerged log near the eastern bank. Instead of waiting for Steve to assist her, Amanda decided to step out of her kayak into the shallow water to push it free from the obstruction. What Amanda couldn't see was the large alligator nest hidden in the dense vegetation just 15 feet from where she stepped into the water. The 9-foot female alligator had been guarding her nest for over a month, and her maternal instincts were at their peak as her eggs approached hatching time. Amanda's entry into the water triggered the female alligator's protective response immediately. The massive reptile exploded from her hiding place with devastating speed, her powerful jaws targeting Amanda's right leg as she stood in the knee-deep water. The crushing bite force instantly shattered bones and severed major arteries, while the alligator's momentum drove Amanda backward into deeper water. Steve watched in horror as the 400-pound alligator began her death roll, spinning rapidly while maintaining her crushing grip on Amanda's leg. Amanda's screams filled the wilderness as the violent rotation dislocated her hip and caused massive internal trauma. The clear river water turned crimson around the attack site as the alligator's razor-sharp teeth worked through muscle and bone. After several brutal rotations, the alligator dragged Amanda beneath the surface to complete the drowning process. Steve paddled frantically toward the attack site, but the alligator's superior strength and aquatic advantages made rescue impossible. Within minutes, Amanda's movement ceased, as the protective mother alligator's assault proved fatal. Search and rescue teams recovered Amanda's body several hours later, and wildlife officials marked the nesting area as off-limits for the remainder of breeding season. Amanda's death devastated the kayaking community and prompted enhanced educational programs about alligator nesting behavior and seasonal safety considerations. The state park implemented new warning systems and seasonal closures for sections of river with active nesting sites. Steve established a foundation promoting water safety education, ensuring Amanda's dedication to helping others would continue through enhanced protection for outdoor enthusiasts. Yet Florida's rivers weren't the only waterways where people encountered these ancient predators. In the saltwater environments of South Florida, a photographer's quest for the perfect shot would lead him into a confrontation with an even more dangerous relative of the alligator. It was November 3rd, 2018, and the pristine waters of Biscayne Bay stretched endlessly across the South Florida landscape under brilliant autumn sunshine. The massive estuary, covering over 400 square miles between Miami and the Florida Keys, was alive with marine life and bordered by dense mangrove forests that provided critical habitat for countless species. The crystal clear water revealed seagrass beds and coral formations, while pelicans and frigate birds soared overhead in the warm tropical air. Carlos Rodriguez, a 28-year-old freelance photographer from Miami, had driven to a remote section of the bay seeking images of American crocodiles for a National Geographic submission. Carlos had built a following of 3,400 Instagram followers through his dramatic wildlife photography, specializing in close-up shots of Florida's most dangerous predators. His portfolio included stunning images of alligators, venomous snakes, and sharks that had earned recognition from several wildlife magazines. Carlos had been pursuing wildlife photography professionally for 2 years, building his reputation through fearless approaches to dangerous subjects that other photographers avoided. His Cuban-American heritage had given him a deep appreciation for South Florida's unique ecosystems, and he took pride in documenting species that most people would never see in the wild. Carlos had invested thousands of dollars in professional camera equipment and underwater housing systems. That morning, Carlos had received reports from park rangers about a massive American crocodile that had been spotted basking on mudflats in a remote section of Biscayne Bay. American crocodiles are much rarer than alligators in Florida, making them highly sought-after subjects for wildlife photographers. Carlos had been trying to photograph this particular species for months, and saw this as his opportunity to capture award-winning images. American crocodiles are significantly more aggressive and territorial than their alligator cousins, with adult males reaching lengths of 15 feet and weights exceeding 1,000 pounds. These apex predators inhabit saltwater and brackish environments throughout South Florida, where they establish territories that they defend with extreme violence. Unlike alligators, crocodiles are more likely to attack humans who enter their domain, and they possess superior speed and agility both in water and on land. Their narrow snouts are filled with razor-sharp teeth designed for gripping and tearing, while their powerful tails can deliver devastating blows. Carlos had been photographing from the mangrove shoreline for over an hour when he spotted the massive crocodile basking on a mudflat approximately 100 yards away. The 13-foot male was an exceptional specimen, easily the largest crocodile Carlos had ever encountered in the wild. His excitement at finding such a magnificent subject overrode his usual caution about maintaining safe distances from dangerous wildlife. Determined to capture ground-level shots that would showcase the crocodile's impressive size and prehistoric appearance, Carlos began wading into the shallow saltwater. The muddy bottom provided uncertain footing, but Carlos was focused entirely on his photography and failed to recognize that he was positioning himself between the crocodile and the deeper water that represented its escape route. The massive crocodile had been monitoring Carlos's approach with growing agitation, its territorial instincts triggered by the human's persistent presence in its domain. When Carlos moved into a position that blocked the reptile's access to deep water, the crocodile's defensive behavior shifted to aggressive action. The ancient predator recognized Carlos as a threat that needed to be eliminated immediately. The crocodile's charge was explosive and terrifying. The 1,200-pound reptile launched itself from the mudflat with surprising speed, its powerful legs propelling it across the shallow water directly toward Carlos's position. Carlos attempted to retreat but slipped on the treacherous mud and fell backward into the water, his expensive camera equipment scattering across the bay floor. The massive crocodile's jaws clamped down on Carlos's torso with devastating force, its crushing bite pressure instantly fracturing ribs and puncturing vital organs. Carlos's screams echoed across the empty bay as the crocodile began its death roll, spinning violently while maintaining its grip on his body. The salt water turned crimson as the reptile's razor-sharp teeth worked through muscle and bone. The death roll continued with mechanical precision, each rotation causing additional trauma while the crocodile's powerful tail thrashed violently in the shallow water. Carlos's attempts to fight back were futile against a predator that had perfected its killing technique over millions of years of evolution. The combination of crushing injuries, blood loss, and drowning quickly overwhelmed his system. Within minutes, Carlos's struggle ceased, as the massive crocodile's brutal assault proved fatal. The ancient predator remained motionless in the bloodied water, guarding its territory while park rangers responded to reports of screaming from other visitors who had heard the attack from a distance. Wildlife officials found the scene an hour later, recovering Carlos's body and damaged camera equipment from the shallow bay. The massive crocodile was monitored but left in its natural habitat, as it had been defending its established territory within the protected ecosystem. Additional warning signs were posted at photography access points throughout the area. Carlos's death sent shockwaves through the wildlife photography community and prompted enhanced safety education for photographers working with dangerous species. His family established a scholarship fund for aspiring wildlife photographers, emphasizing the importance of respecting wild animals and maintaining safe distances. The incident became a cautionary tale about the dangers of prioritizing dramatic shots over personal safety. Thanks for watching. Just when you think you've seen the most tragic examples, we're just getting started. Click here for more.